Right, welcome back. I'm South. Now we've got a new deck list following the new ban list, which we might cover. Now this is branded, but we do have the one singular Shadow Beast. If you remember back all the way in September, I did a branded Shadow deck list, purely built around the fact that branded fusion was at 1, so you needed a sub-engine to help pilot it. And Shadow was one of the more optimum choices due to its nature of being another really good engine. If your branded fails, you still have your dogs. And that was kind of the whole premise about it. Now then, let's move on. Kicking off the monsters, we have 2 Nibiru the Primal Being, good hand trap, would pull it to 3, but would need to tinker with the deck to do so. Fleur-de-lis works just fine at 2, you don't need a third one. Brilliant at 2, though you could also run it at 1. Albion the Shrouded Dragon is a really strong consistency booster that you could play it at 3, but you can also play it at 2, which is what we're doing here. But you can play it 1, 2 or 3, it doesn't matter, just 2 is the nice number. Shadow Beast at 1 is just that nice little extra draw power, really. Really good material for Libellion as well, one of the better ones out there, not the best. I'm not saying it's the best, it's one of the better ones on the stick, but absolutely not the best one. That would probably go to something like Albion the Shrouded Dragon. But yeah, no, Beast, just an extra draw, it's not bad. Golden Sword Soul and negate attack on a level 4 tuner, which you can use to go into the level 10 and 12 Synchro, Laloth, and Despertio, respectively. And it's just a nice, quick negate attack, play the Sword Soul, you have another body there for Xyz, Fusion, Synchro, or Link plays. Aluba is only at 1, due to the fact that you don't need another one. Just, you don't need to run a second if you're running the Keeper, but we don't have the Keeper, you should be running 2. The only reason why I only have 1 without the Keeper is due to the fact that this deck has not been tested yet. 3 Fawn of Alba is actually pretty damn standard. Fusion material. Also with the Duba you do gain access to all your branded spells and traps, so that's a good 8. Okay, no, that's a good like 7, 6? That's a good 6. 6 of your spells you have access to, which is good. Dual kit for recycling, really all that's there for, actually. Tri-Brigade for Courier is another recycle. Well, not really, it's a searcher, and it can bash itself. Ash and Ghost Ogre, hand traps. Despian Tragedy, recycle. One of the better ends, I would say, use it more than Beast. One of the better ends of the Dark Attribute Fusion material, but you'll be good. Effective Editor, again, hand trap on a level 1 tuner, not bad. Fusion Deployment at 1 to get to any of the Beast. Sorry, not the Beast, Fawn of Albaz. I'm still with the Shadow mindset. Branded in white. Fusion Summon, play into Albion, go into Libellion, then you can fuse away into a Despia card, or any of that jazz, you'll be good. The one branded fusion, you would have 3 if it wasn't limited. Branded Bond, recycling branded, Fawn of Albaz, go on to field, Fusion Summon, bada bing, bada boom. You effectively have 4 Super Polys ready there, waiting. Pot of Avarice, recycling, and then it just draws 2. It's not bad. Many people sleep on this card due to the fact that, oh yeah, you can hit it with Ash. Whilst that is true, if you've already exhausted all of your opponent's Ashes, this card is quite good. Now this is more of a casual engine, so you'll see why some of the choices in here aren't as good as what normal competitive players run. Polymerization at the 1. Normally you would want to run Fusion Substitute, but we went with Poly simply because it's Poly. Fusion Substitute and Poly do the exact same main effect, just Fusion Substitute allows you to draw a card. But yeah, we just kept with the Poly for that one reason. It's just Poly. You're only going to use it for Fusion Summoning. Super Polymerization at 1. Pretty self-explanatory. You don't really need to do any work to it. You could ditch the Super Poly. You could ditch normal Poly for Super Poly. That's right about it. Light of the Branded is just another quick fusion monster. That's all it's there for. Light of the Branded is... that's what it does. Branded Lost is one of the more important cards, as it shuts down the gates to target fusion activations. So, I play something like a Branded Fusion, my opponent hits me with an Ash, I can still play another Branded Fusion. Or I hit a Fusion Deployment, someone plays Ash, I can play another one. And it's just that nice. Imperm, good hand trap. Evenly matched, one of the more troublesome hand traps in the deck, but it's a last resort. Brightest Blazing Branded King is a nice way to stop your opponent, for you to hit them potentially with a very game-changing counter attack, and it's really good for that. Screams of the Branded is just a little, your opponent destroys it. Oh no, what are you going to do? Screams of the Branded. Your troubles are back. Deal with it. Necrofusion is just for another fusion. Branded Sword is when all goes to hell and you need some level 8. You need some monsters. You pop the Branded Sword, banish up to 5. You banish up to 3 Branded spell or traps, and you're good to go. You should be able to win. That's if it's not negated. It's a very last case risk card. But other than that, it's good. It's just there for fusion material due to the fact that it summons tokens. And yes, you can use tokens for fusion material. Branded Retribution allows the usage of Branded Fusion from once to a total of 4 times. Combine it with the Tragedy, you have 5 times of Branded Fusion, a limited card, with a hard once per turn on it. You have 5 uses of that card. That's pretty damn good. And it's also a negate, so you have 2 ways of using it. Now onto the extra deck. We're going from right to left here. Number 38, just a free negate. Albion the Branded Dragon. Mirror Jade targets. You can use one, send it from the extra deck to grave, pop the Jade. You're good to go. Titaniclad, you're only running double Fleur. You only need double Titaniclad. And it's just a nice, another level 8 body just to have. Masquerade is possibly one of the more scary cards in the extra deck, due to the fact that every time your opponent activates a card, you deal them 600 life points of damage. That racks up. What you think is small just racks up, and it completely annoys opponents. I've seen people brutally lose from this one card alone. Albilenesis, the Abyss Dragon, it's similar in the fact that it gains to Chimera attack, in the fact that it does gain attacks. Well, other than that, you just send it from extra to grave, get a fusion spell, fusion summon, all over again, and you're good to go. Triple Lubellion. Lubellion is similar to Albion in the fact that they both fusion summon on their main effects. But with Albion banishing, Lubellion shuffles. So what you want to do, your base combo, Branded Fusion, send in Fawn of Habaz and Beast from deck to grave. You also want Branded Lost activated at this time, by the way. Fusion Summon Lubellion, 2 effects, Prong, Beast, Lubellion. You do that so you don't really discard. Just you gotta be careful with them, as Beast will always resolve after the Lubellion. Well, sorry, it won't resolve after. Yeah, It will resolve after Rebellion. So it'll be activated after Rebellion, but Rebellion's discard cost then Feast Draw. So just be wary with it. Starving Venom for that super volley. Again, you could use pretty much any of these monsters for it, including Mirror Jade itself, but you won't see it in the normal case. Now, moving on to Mirror Jade. Non-target removal. Funny. One of the funniest cards in this entire extra deck. Once per turn, send one from extra deck to graveyard. From extra deck to grave, you banish one monster field, not targeting, by the way, not targeting, and it has a nice floating effect. Now onto the side deck. This is mostly interchangeable, but this is sometimes what I prefer to run against other decks like Fire Kings. We have that Ghost Mourner. Ghost Mourner is also a really nice way to just hit them, get them a little bit burn damage. So they play a monster with 4,500 attack. Ghost Mourner, Mirror Jade, they're taking 4.5k damage. Really good. Really good. Up until you realise the fact that this card can get negated quite a fair bit. Fate Veil, same reason for last time, level 1 tuner with a negate on the field. That's actually not that bad. Dragon's Rebellion is another super poly target but relies on fusion monsters, hence why we run into 14. Kibaritis, this is to punish those risky battle phase attackers. This is more of an anti-tempo card. You rare fusion monsters to go against this card, otherwise, if you can't negate it, and you have no fusion monsters on the field that are level 8 or higher, you're effectively not having any attack points in that, which, by the way, that situation does happen a lot. It happens a lot more than often. Dragon Berserker is just a non-target banish, making it exceptionally good, and it can attack twice per turn by using its second effect. So it's basically a 1-2. That damage racks up. Neo Galaxion's Tachyon is a personal preference of mine used for an OTK with Dragon Beyond a normal Tachyon. Triple First negates activations in the damage step. That's good. If cards want to change a tap point, you can just negate it and you'll be good. Then Branded Banishment is another fusion card. Now, this ain't that bad. It ain't that bad. Just definitely a little bit rusty. Well, we're going to go. Yeah, we're actually going to jack it out. So as you see, we got the Aluba. Set 2. No one summon Aluba. Activate this effect. Get the Branded Fusion, and we're going to do the base combo. You're going to see why this is quite important. Now, because of how we're running this deck and the hand that we got, we can't benefit from the Albion Rebellion aspect of things. But we'll be pretty much set anyways. Yeah, it will always resolve after, so you actually do perform the Fusion Summon first. Okay, that's handy to know. Just be wary with that. Yeah, and that's your basic combo. That will give you, give or take, over 60k damage. It's a straight 36. No. That is just the basic 1-2 combo that you use for this deck. Anything else is just additional things that you could run. I'm not saying that you can't. That's absolutely doable. You can run it. Now, there is also going to be that. So, I'm going... Okay, how am I going to do this? So, now we're going to explain how you play Yu-Gi-Oh! Now that you've seen a deck, you've seen it function. For all the people who do play Yu-Gi-Oh! You can still watch to the end of this video. You absolutely can. However, this part doesn't necessarily apply to you. But it's still worth checking out, as there might be some things that you've either forgotten or you just didn't know. Like how I've forgotten about the Rebellion Beast. Thing's not very much working. Okay. So there are multiple types of monsters in this game. Normal monsters, fusion monsters, synchro monsters, effect monsters, pendulum monsters, and link monsters. There are also fusion pendulum, synchro pendulum, and disease pendulum monsters, along with normal pendulum and effect pendulum. So we're going to knock out normal monsters first. They're just completely vanilla, and they don't have anything to them. An example of this would be Dark Magician, or Blue Eyes. It's got some vanilla text, but it doesn't have anything much to it. Now, this is where we move on. We move on to effect monsters. Now, effect monsters come in two types. Effect monsters that are level 4 or below, or effect monsters that are level 5 to 6. And there's also effect monsters that are from level 7 to 12, like Dogmatica, Fleur-de-Lis, and Nibiru being level 8 and 7 respectively. Level 8 and 11, sorry, not 7. Now, with these cards, normal monsters from levels 1 to 4 can be played straight out of your hand. You'll see this bit on screen as of right now. You can just play it from your hand, no problem. Now, level 5 to 6 monsters, as you'll see on screen round about now, you only need to tribute one monster for it. The one we chose was the level 6 Dimension Shifter. The monster we chose for the normal level 2 normal summon was Shadow Falco. Now, this is where things get a bit tricky. Level 7 and above, unless stated otherwise, require 2 tributes. Some may require 3, like the Egyptian God card, Slifer, Obelisk, and Ra. Some might only require 1. So just be careful of that one. With this, we can now move on to spells. There are multiple types of spells. Continuous spells, which stay on the field forever until they're destroyed or negated before effect can resolve for the first time. Quick play spells, which are very similar to normal spells, but they just work a little bit faster. They can be activated on either player's turn in response to an effect, or during the battle phase, not the damage step. Normal spell cards you just play from your hand, and once you use it, it goes into the graveyard. And then we have equip spells. Equip spells are similar to continuous spells, as they do stay on the field until they are destroyed and sent to the graveyard. However, they do not act like continuous spells in the fact that their effects are constant as long as it's still equipped to a monster. So an example of an equipped spell would be a Shadow one. Which one was it? Nerf Shadow Fusion is an equipped spell, and Shadow Fusion is a quick play spell, and Shadow Fusion is a normal spell. Then we also go on to the infamous field spells. We are going to get rid of that ad because that is annoying. Just so you know, we don't have any sponsors by that one. That was just a random occurrence. Now we can go on to ritual spells. I believe there's none on this page, no. Let's go into Black Cluster Ritual then. Because I believe Black Ritual is the, Black Cluster Ritual. This is an example of a ritual spell used to summon a ritual monster. So then we move on to field spells, and another one of this will be Curse of the Shadow Prison. Yeah, here, Curse of the Shadow Prison is it's a field spell, so it'll stay on the field until it is destroyed. However, in certain cases, like Fusion Gate, the effect can be used by both players. This one only works for you, however, Fusion Gate works for the turn player. As stated in its text, during the main phase, the turn player can fusion summon one fusion monster from the action effect by banishing fusion materials on it from their hand or field. Now, we're also going to cover traps in here. There's multiple different types of traps. These are normal traps, counter traps, and continuous traps. So, a normal trap will be Necrofusion. These are faster than normal spells, and they are the same speed as quick play spells. So there is that. So yeah, so that's something else, don't mind that. So that is normal trap cards. Call the Haunted is an example of a continuous trap. Sorry, not counter trap, that's Brand for Execution, we'll cover that in a minute. Counter traps work pretty much identical to continuous traps. They're just as fast as normal traps and quick play spells. Now we can move on to counter traps, possibly the fastest type of card. Normally, these types of cards can only be stopped by another counter trap, and these are usually used at the end of the chain. It's like a full stop in a sentence. Where these types of cards, so Beast is all the words, this would be the full stop. Now we go on to what others determine a spell speed for. These things are like the end, the proper end, the true end, the end of a paragraph, or the end of a sentence with an exclamation mark. These things say neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. Dark Rule, No More, and Super Polymerization are two known ones. They are known by pretty much most Yu-Gi-Oh players that at least play in one tournament or have seen others on YouTube or on social media with that type of thing. So that is Super Polymerization before in general. Now we can move on to the different types of summoning. First we have fusion summoning. And fusion summoning, as like it is on screen now, is you send two monsters from your hand or field to the graveyard, and you fuse them together to create a fusion monster. This was already demonstrated when I fusion summoned Trulibellion in that test run from earlier. So that should be on screen now. Moving on to synchro summoning, you send a tuner monster and a non-tuner monster from your field to your graveyard, and what it does is that it's like a machine. One is the gears, the other one is one's the gears, one's the responses. It's not an electronic circuit would be better. One's the input, one's One's the input, one's the current, one's the actual circuit. When they work, that's what happens. This is a synchro monster. So that's how you synchro summon. Just make sure that your levels add up to the synchro monster you're trying to summon. And it goes with the rule of thumb. For both synchro and fusion, make sure your materials are correct. Now we go on to Xyz. Now, Xyz summons are where you stack two monsters on each other and you play this card. This is number 107, Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. It's a rank 8 Xyz effect monster with the materials of 2 level 8s. So I would stack on 2 level 8s as shown on screen now. And what you would do is that you summon both of them. You summon both monsters, you stack them on top of each other, you can summon this card. And the materials that you use are now known as Xyz materials. They're not on the field, but they're not in the grave. So effects like White Wing Magician, which state if they're pendulum summoned and they're used and they leave the field. So anything like Call of the Haunted, if it leaves the field, something bad happens. This thing just makes so that Call of the Haunted would stay on the field, because someone has not left on the field, it became an Xyz material. Now we go on to pendulum summoning. So as you see here, we have 2 pendulum monsters. This isn't part of the deck list, by the way. Ordai's Phantasma Dragon and Ordai's Revolution Dragon. Now, the example on screen is an example of a Karate Spirit and Predator Plant Bifurcator like Kanye or something like that. It's a Karate Spirit and it's scale 9 and Bifurcator scale 7. Sorry, not 7, 0. So with the scale 0 and scale 9 or scale 0 and scale 13 or whatever your scales are, you can summon monsters that have levels in between these scales. So in this example, we can summon monsters from levels 1 through 11, which pretty much gives me access to any of these monsters here. So from Nibiru all the way to Effect Feather, I can summon all of them through a pendulum summon. You can only do this once per turn, unless you use a card that states otherwise. And you can also use these monsters for different types of summoning. The downside is, this does take up your hand. So a normal pendulum summon would waste your hand entirely. Now we move on to Link summoning. The example on screen now would be Link Male Archfiend, a Link form monster. However, in this example, we're going to use Triple Burst. Now, the requirements for both are 2 monsters, 2 plus monsters, with Link Male requiring 4 monsters, including an extra deck monster, so Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or a Ritual monster. We'll get onto Ritual in a minute. And what this does is that you send them all to the graveyard, and you can play the Link monster. Your Link material has to add up to the Link rating. However, you can use Link monsters as if they are more than one monster by using the Link rating. So I use the Link 3 Triple Burst Dragon and Shadow Beast, and with those 2 I can summon Honeybot or Decode Talker, as they fulfill the requirements. Now onto Ritual monsters. Ritual monsters are quite nice, but they're quite nice conceptually. They're not nice in practicality. Now, returning to our Black Luster Soldier, we can see that there are some ritual versions of it. We're going to use the original Blackluster Soldier. We're going to use its ritual spell, Blackluster Ritual. So, what you would do is that you would activate Blackluster Ritual, and you would attempt to ritual summon Blackluster Soldier. Now, to do a ritual summon, you need the ritual monster and the ritual spell in hand, with monsters to sacrifice on the field. This is quite important, as if you do not have these monsters, you can't ritual summon. You must also tribute monsters from your hand or field, or with other cards, your extra deck, whatever like that. So, ritual monsters, in theory, would take up 3 cards. In practicality, they can take a lot. Okay, so I'm going to end this video off here, now that we've covered all the monsters. Actually, no, I'm not going to end this video. We're then going to explain the turn phases. Now, to a turn, there are multiple different phases. You have draw phase, standby phase, main phase 1, battle phase, main phase 2, end phase. These are your normal phases. In the draw phase, you draw a card from the top of your deck. It's only one. Then your standby phase is you can activate cards or effects that activate in the standby phase before you move on to your main phase. Your main phase is where you activate all your spells and you play all your monsters. This is typically the phase that takes the longest. Your opponent will also get a chance to respond to you. Now, your battle phase is where you declare all your attacks. So, if I had 1 Mirror and 2 Lubellion, I could have an attack with all of them if I'm able to. So, for Lubellion, if I haven't used its effect, I can still attack with it. So what I would do is that I would declare an attack with Lubellion. My opponent would take the difference between my monsters and their monsters' attack points as damage should my monster, or in this case Lubellion, have the higher attack points. If they have the higher attack points, then I take the damage. And if they're in defense position and I attack and I have a higher attack, they don't take any damage. But if I have a lower attack than their defense points, I do take damage. Direct attacks are if you attack someone who is wide open, they take the full attack points damage, so they do take the full 2,500 in this case, or the full 3,000 should it be Mirror Jade. Then we have the main phase 2. This is where you'll be summoning some more monsters, but you'll also be setting your trap cards. Your end phase is just the end of your turn. It is quite easy to forget one common ruling. I've seen so many players forget it. The person who goes first cannot draw or attack. So player 1 and then there's player 2 in a traditional format. Player 1 decides to go first. They cannot draw or attack. So on turn 1, the phase order will be standby phase, main phase 1, end phase. Technically they'd have a draw phase, but they don't draw in the draw phase. And then from turn 2 onwards, it's the full 6 phases. So I'm going to end this. Yeah, now is a good time to end this video off here. Yeah, the video is over. The video is now over. Like and subscribe if you wish. But we've covered what we've covered monster spells traps, another deck list, and the phase order of the term. And with this video, you should be able to have a beginning game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Without any of the hassle that goes with it. So, in theory, you should be able to summon a monster, tribute summon, fusion summon, exceed summon, synchro summon, link summon, pendulum summon, fusion summon, ritual summon. You should know all the phase orders, what cards you can activate during your main phase 1, so things like your spell cards, normal spell cards, quick play spell cards, and things that you can do on your main phase 2, and things that you can respond with, so things like your trap cards should have you if you've waited a turn. Now, we're going to quickly go over them again just to finish off, and we're going to do this in order. So, normal spells, spell speed 1, they're the slowest of the slow. Quick play spell cards, spell speed 2, continuous, spell speed 1, basically continuous, quick play is the only spell speed 2 spell card out of all the spell cards. Chaps range from spell speed 2 to 3, with 3 being the counter traps. Anything marked as a quick effect on a monster is spell speed 2, if not it's spell speed 1. Jeez, okay, with Super Poly being a spell speed 4, but that's an exception, as it's technically spell speed 2, because it cannot react to a branded retribution. Anyways, like, subscribe, I'll see ya later. I'm Stealth.